Trapped on a world of giant alien women, the human had only one way to survive. The escape pod tumbled through the atmosphere like a dying leaf, smoke trailing behind it as it screamed toward the surface. Inside, Lisa Carter clutched her harness, teeth gritted against the violent shaking. Alarms blared before cutting out one by one. Her ship, the Astra Voyager, had been ripped apart by a strange gravitational anomaly near the Kessel Drift. She was the only one who made it to the pod in time. Now, with no comms and failing oxygen, she braced for impact. The ground rushed up fast. Trees taller than skyscrapers blurred past. Then crunch. Metal groaned, glass shattered, and everything went still. Silence pressed in, thick and heavy. Lisa coughed, tasting blood and smoke. Her left leg throbbed. She unbuckled herself with trembling hands and pushed open the cracked hatch. Warm air rushed in, scented with something sweet and unfamiliar like crushed petals and wet stone. She dragged herself out, collapsing onto soft moss that glowed faintly blue under her palms. The sky above swirled with colors she'd never seen. Lavender clouds streaked with gold. Two suns hanging low on the horizon, one pale yellow, the other deep crimson. The forest around her pulsed with life. Vines moved slowly, curling and uncurling like sleeping serpents. Distant calls echoed. Melodic, haunting, not like any animal she knew. Then she heard footsteps. Not the crunch of boots or the snap of twigs, but deep, rhythmic thuds that shook the earth beneath her. Lisa tried to stand, but her leg gave out. She turned, heart hammering. Between the silver-barked trees, figures emerged. They were enormous, 20 feet tall at least, with smooth, pale blue skin that shimmered in the dual sunlight. Their limbs were long and elegant, their faces calm and ageless. They wore armor made of polished bone and living vines that bloomed with tiny white flowers. Lisa froze. She had no weapon, no strength left. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. But nothing happened. She opened her eyes to see the tallest of the figures kneeling. Her amber eyes glowed softly, filled not with hunger or anger, but curiosity. She tilted her head, studying Lisa like a rare insect. Then, with impossible gentleness, she reached out. Her fingers were longer than Lisa's entire body, yet they moved with care as they brushed aside debris from Lisa's leg. A second giantess stepped forward, her expression stern. She spoke in a language that sounded like wind chimes and running water. The first one, Zara, though Lisa didn't know her name yet, answered in the same tone, calm and firm. They were arguing, but not about killing her, about protecting her. Zara scooped Lisa into her palm as if she weighed nothing. Lisa tensed, but the giantess held her close to her chest, cradling her like something precious. They walked through the forest, each step shaking the ground. Lisa saw more of them now. Dozens of these women, all moving with quiet purpose. None carried weapons. None snarled or shouted. They simply existed in harmony with the world around them. They arrived at a city unlike anything Lisa had imagined. It was built into the trunks of massive trees, platforms spiraling upward, connected by bridges woven from living roots. Lanterns made of glowing fruit hung from every archway. The air hummed with a low, soothing frequency that made Lisa's bones feel lighter. Zara carried her into a hollow chamber lined with soft fibers that smelled like rain. She set Lisa down gently on a nest of woven moss. Another giantess, Nira, with eyes that sparkled like starlight, brought a cup carved from a single pearl. Inside was clear liquid that tasted like honey and mint. Lisa drank greedily. For days she stayed in that chamber, healing. Zara visited often, bringing food that changed flavor with every bite. Sometimes like berries, sometimes like bread, always nourishing. Nira would sit nearby, humming songs that made the walls vibrate softly. Lisa tried to speak, to explain who she was, but they only smiled and touched her hair, as if it were spun glass. She began to understand their gestures. A tap on the chest meant me. A sweep of the hand toward the sky meant stars. When Lisa pointed to herself and said, "Lisa," Zara repeated the sound carefully, her voice deep and musical. But not all were welcoming. Vela, the stern one with sharp cheekbones and eyes like cold amber, watched Lisa from the doorway. She never entered the chamber. She stood like a statue, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Lisa felt the weight of her suspicion like a stone in her stomach. One afternoon, as Lisa practiced walking again, Vela finally stepped inside. She loomed over the small human, her shadow swallowing the light. She pointed at Lisa, then at the sky, then made a slicing motion across her throat. Lisa understood. "You came from the stars. You are dangerous. You must go or die." Zara appeared instantly, placing herself between them. She spoke sharply, her voice rising for the first time. Vela answered just as fiercely. The air crackled with tension. Nira hovered at the edge, eyes wide with worry. Lisa knew she had to prove she wasn't a threat. But how? She was small, weak, alone. She had nothing but her mind. That night, as the twin suns set and the forest glowed with bioluminescent light, Lisa remembered the emergency beacon in her flight suit. She'd kept it hidden, hoping to use it only if rescue came near. But rescue wasn't coming, not here, not ever. She took it out. It was small, black, with a single red button. She pressed it. A high-pitched wail tore through the quiet. Red light flashed in rapid pulses. The giant startled. Zara spun around, eyes wide. Vela drew back, hand going to the bone dagger at her hip. But Lisa didn't stop. She held the beacon high and pointed it at the sky. Then she pointed to herself, then to the ground, then made a circle with her hands, home. She was lost. This was not her world. She needed help. The beacon's cry faded. Silence returned, heavier than before. Zara stared at Lisa, then at the beacon, then back at Lisa. Slowly she knelt. She reached out and took the device, turning it over in her huge fingers. She pressed the button again. The wail returned, softer this time. A signal, not a weapon. Understanding dawned in her eyes. She looked at Vela and spoke one word, clear and firm. Vela hesitated, then gave a slow nod. The suspicion in her gaze didn't vanish, but it softened. That night, Zara brought Lisa to the highest platform of the city. Wind tugged at Lisa's hair as she stood at the edge, looking out over a sea of glowing treetops. Zara pointed to the sky. Among the unfamiliar constellations, Lisa spotted one she knew, the Big Dipper. Her breath caught. Earth was out there. Somewhere. Zara placed a hand over her own heart, then pointed to Lisa. "You are not alone." Lisa smiled for the first time since the crash. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe survival didn't mean escape. Maybe it meant connection. And in that moment, under two alien suns, the tiny human and the giant woman stood together, not as prisoner and captor, but as two souls adrift in the vast dark, finding light in each other. Trapped on a world of giant alien women, the human had only one way to survive. Weeks turned into months, and Lisa settled into a rhythm unlike any she had known on Earth. Each morning began with the soft chime of wind through crystal leaves as Zara arrived with a bowl of glowing fruit that changed taste with every bite, sometimes tart like green apple, sometimes rich like mango. Lisa learned to drink from cups carved from moonstone and sleep in nests woven from singing vines that hummed lullabies when touched. She no longer flinched at the size of the women around her. Their footsteps no longer shook her with fear, but with comfort. Like the steady beat of a drum, Zara became her teacher. Using gestures, drawings in the air, and shared moments under the twin suns, she taught Lisa the basics of their language. It was built on tones and resonance, not just words. A low hum meant peace, a sharp trill meant warning, a rising melody meant joy. Lisa practiced daily, her small voice sounding thin beside theirs, but Zara never laughed. She only smiled and repeated the sounds until Lisa got them right. Nira showed her the healing arts. In a chamber deep within the oldest tree, shelves held jars of glowing pollen, crushed petals, and liquid starlight. Nira would mix them with water from the sky pools, rain collected in giant leaves, and apply them to Lisa's scars. The wounds faded faster than they should have, leaving skin smoother than before. Lisa realized their medicine worked with the body, not against it. It listened. But Vela remained distant. She watched from afar, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. She never spoke to Lisa directly, but Lisa felt her presence like a cold wind. Once, while Lisa was learning to climb a small practice vine, Vela stood at the base of the platform, silent and still. Lisa slipped. She fell only a few feet, landing softly on moss, but Vela's hand twitched, as if she almost reached out. She didn't. She turned and walked away. Lisa wondered what she had done to earn such distrust. She asked Zara one evening, as they sat on a balcony watching the crimson sun dip below the horizon. Zara's expression grew serious. She placed a hand over her heart, then pointed to the sky, then made a motion like an explosion. Long ago, others had come from the stars. Not like Lisa. They came in metal ships that burned the sky. They took resources, poisoned rivers, and left silence in their wake. They never spoke. They only destroyed. Lisa's chest tightened. She shook her head fiercely. She pointed to herself, then to the earth in the sky, then placed her palm flat over her heart. I am not them. Zara nodded slowly. She believed her, but belief was not enough for Vela. Then came the day the sky cracked. It started with a tremor. Not from the ground, but from above. The air grew heavy, charged with static. The glowing leaves dimmed. The giant women stopped their work and looked up. Even Vela appeared on a high platform, her face grim. Zara rushed to Lisa's side. She scooped her up without a word and ran toward the central tree. The wind howled. Purple lightning forked across the sky, striking the tallest branches. The storm was not natural. Lisa recognized the energy signature. It was artificial, a weapon, or a ship. A massive object tore through the clouds. It was black, jagged, and silent. No lights, no engines she could hear. It circled the city once, low and slow, like a predator scenting prey. Then it fired. A beam of dark energy lanced down, striking the eastern grove. Trees exploded into ash. The ground split open. Screams, deep, mournful cries, rose from the giants. They were not warriors. They had no weapons. They only knew how to grow, to heal, to live. Zara carried Lisa into the heart chamber, a sacred space at the base of the great tree where the oldest roots pulsed with soft blue light. Nira was already there, mixing herbs with shaking hands. Vela stood at the entrance, dagger drawn, eyes fixed on the sky. Lisa's mind raced. She was small. She had no ship, no army. But she had knowledge. She remembered the beacon. It wasn't just a distress signal. It had a secondary function, a short-range pulse that could disrupt unshielded electronics. The black ship moved silently, but it had to have systems. Sensors. Navigation. She tugged Zara's sleeve and pointed upward. Then she mimed pressing a button, then made a motion like shattering glass. Zara frowned, confused. Lisa grabbed a piece of bark and scratched a rough drawing, a ship, a beam, a pulse wave. She pointed to herself, then to the beacon, then to the sky. Zara's eyes widened. She looked at Vela. Vela stared at Lisa for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she spoke directly to her. "You can stop it," she said in broken but clear English. Lisa nodded. Vela turned and barked orders in their chiming tongue. 2 younger giants ran off. Minutes later, they returned with a harness made of woven silk and bone, a riding rig. Zara helped strap Lisa into it, securing her to Vela's back. The harness fit snugly, with handholds and a chest plate that glowed faintly. "Hold tight," Vela said, her voice low and steady. They climbed. Fast. Vela scaled the great tree like it was a ladder, her muscles coiling with power. Wind whipped Lisa's face. Above, the black ship circled again, preparing another strike. At the highest branch, Vela crouched. Lisa unclipped the beacon from her belt. She checked the charge. 60%. Enough for one strong pulse. She activated it. The red light blinked faster.
"Now!" she shouted. Vela leapt, not down, but up. She used the spring of the living branch like a catapult, launching herself into the air. For a heartbeat, they soared above the treetops, suspended between the 2 suns. The black ship loomed ahead, its underbelly open, energy gathering in a dark core.
Lisa aimed the beacon and pressed the pulse button. A wave of crimson energy erupted from the device, invisible to the eye but felt in the bones. The ship shuddered. Its lights flickered. The beam sputtered and died. Alarms, harsh, mechanical, sounded from within. The ship listed sideways, smoke trailing from its hull. It tried to flee, but its systems were scrambled. It crashed into the far mountains with a muffled boom. Silence returned. Vela landed lightly on a wide platform, breathing hard. She turned and looked at Lisa, still strapped to her back. Her stern face softened. She reached back and gently touched Lisa's cheek with one finger. "Thank you," she whispered. Below, the city stirred. Giants emerged from shelters, staring at the sky, then at Lisa. Their expressions had changed. Fear had turned to awe. Respect. That night, they held a gathering in the heart chamber. Not a feast, but a circle. Lisa sat on a cushion of woven light between Zara and Vela. Nira sang a song of protection. Elders spoke of balance, of trust, of the small one who stood tall when the sky fell. Vela stood and addressed the circle. She told them Lisa was not a threat. She was a guardian, a bridge. The word spread through the city like wind through leaves. From that day on, Lisa was no longer just a guest. She was one of them. She helped design early warning systems using salvaged parts from her pod. She taught them how to shield their trees with reflective vines that scattered energy beams. In return, they taught her how to listen to the planet, how the roots carried messages, how the wind carried memories, how the twin suns shaped the tides of thought. She rode on Zara's shoulders through cloud forests, explored crystal caves with Nira, and trained with Vela in evasion and awareness. Vela never smiled often, but she began to wait for Lisa each morning, offering a hand to help her onto her palm. One evening, as they watched the stars, Lisa asked Zara if they ever left their world. Zara shook her head. They had no need. Their home gave them everything. But now, she added, they had a reason to look outward. Because of Lisa, they understood. The stars were not just beauty, they were responsibility. Lisa thought of Earth, of cities and wars and noise. She missed the smell of rain on pavement, the sound of laughter in crowded streets. But here, she had found something deeper. Peace, purpose, belonging. She knew one day she might leave. But not yet, because survival was no longer about escaping. It was about staying, protecting, growing. And as the twin suns set, painting the sky in gold and crimson, Lisa Carter, the smallest among giants, knew she had found her place in the universe. Not as a lost human, but as a daughter of the twin suns, a voice between worlds and a heart that beat in time with a planet that had chosen to love her back. Trapped on a world of giant alien women, the human had only one way to survive. The seasons turned with the slow grace of falling petals, and Lisa had lived through 3 cycles of the twin suns. She no longer counted days by Earth hours, but by the blooming of sky orchids and the migration of crystal-winged moths. Her hands, once soft from shipboard life, were now calloused from climbing vines and shaping tools from river stone. She wore robes woven from moon silk that shimmered with her mood, calm blue when resting, warm gold when laughing, deep violet when thinking. The giant women no longer looked at her with curiosity, but with quiet pride. She was theirs. And they were hers. Zara had become more than a guardian. She was a sister. They shared meals in silence, walked the high bridges at dawn, and sometimes sat for hours just watching clouds shape stories in the sky. Nira taught Lisa how to read the pulses in the great tree's roots, messages from distant groves, warnings of storms, songs of new life. Vela, once cold as mountain stone, now trained Lisa in defense, not with weapons but with awareness. See the wind before it moves, she would say, her voice low. Hear the silence before the danger speaks. But peace, Lisa had learned, was never permanent. It began with a whisper in the roots, a tremor not of earth but of fear. The eastern groves sent word, strange lights in the sky, not like the black ship from before. These were steady, methodical, scanning. Zara called a council in the heart chamber. Elders gathered, their faces lined with worry. Nira brought vials of trembling pollen that reacted to distant energy. The liquid inside swirled black. They are close, she said. Lisa's stomach dropped. She knew that pattern. It was human, not pirates, not scavengers, military. She told them what she feared. A human scout ship. Maybe from the Federation, maybe from the Alliance. Whoever it was, they would not see a peaceful world. They would see resources, alien biology, a chance to claim something new. And they would not ask. They would take. Vela's jaw tightened. They will not land, she said. They might not need to, Lisa replied. They have drones, sensors. If they detect me, if they hear my signal, they'll come for me, and they'll bring war with them. A heavy silence filled the chamber. That night, Lisa stood on the highest platform, staring at the stars. Earth felt like a dream now, but the thought of human ships tearing through this world made her sick. She had to stop them. Not with violence. With truth. She went to Zara. I need to send a message, she said. Not a distress call. A warning. Tell them this world is protected. Tell them I am safe. Tell them to leave. Zara listened. Then she nodded. We will help you speak. For 3 days they worked, using parts from Lisa's old pod, vines that conducted energy and crystals that amplified sound. They built a transmitter, not hidden in the trees, but placed openly on the central spire, glowing with soft light. Lisa recorded her message in English, then in the chiming tongue of the giants. She spoke of peace, of choice, of a human who chose to stay. When it was done, she activated it. A beam of light, gentle and steady, shot into the sky. Not a scream for help. A statement of will. 2 days later, the scout ship appeared. It was sleek and white, marked with the Federation seal, a circle of stars. It hovered at the edge of the atmosphere. Scanning, Lisa watched from below, heart pounding. Vela stood beside her, hand resting on the hilt of her bone dagger. Zara and Nira waited nearby, ready. The ship did not fire. It did not send drones. Instead, a voice crackled over the transmitter. This is Captain Elena Ross of the Federation vessel Horizon. We are receiving a human signal. Identify yourself. Lisa took a deep breath. She stepped to the transmitter. This is Lisa Carter, former pilot of the Astra Voyager. I am alive, I am safe, and I am not coming back. Silence. Then Lisa, are you under duress? No, she said firmly. I live here by choice. This world is home. These people are my family. You are not welcome to land. Do not scan further. Do not send probes. Leave this system now. Another pause. Longer this time. Lisa imagined the captain on the bridge staring at her screen, seeing a tiny signal from a planet full of giants. Confused, suspicious, maybe even angry. Then the voice returned, softer. Understood. We will log this world as off-limits. May you find peace, Lisa Carter. The ship turned and vanished into the stars. Relief washed over Lisa like rain, but Vela did not relax. They will tell others, she said. Not all will listen. She was right. Weeks later, a second ship came, smaller, darker, no markings. A mercenary vessel. It dropped 3 pods before the giants could react. The pods crashed into the southern grove, spilling out armored figures with stun rifles and containment nets. They moved fast, scanning for life signs, shouting in rough English. Find the human, grab her. The rest, neutralize if needed. Lisa's blood ran cold. Zara roared. A sound like thunder through stone. The entire city stirred. Giants emerged from every platform, not with weapons, but with presence. They formed a wall of living bodies between the intruders and the heart of the city. The mercenaries fired. Blue bolts of energy struck the giants, but the bolts fizzled out inches from their skin. The women's bodies emitted a natural field, a defense Lisa had never seen before. It shimmered like heat haze. One mercenary raised a net launcher, aimed at Lisa. Vela moved like lightning. She leapt from a high branch, landing between Lisa and the shot. The net wrapped around her arm. She tore it off like thread and crushed it in her fist. Then she spoke one word in her own tongue, Kithra. And the ground beneath the mercenaries softened. The moss turned to quicksand. They sank to their waists, struggling. Nira appeared beside them, holding a vial. She poured it onto the ground. Vines shot up, coiling around the mercenaries' legs, arms, weapons. They were bound but unharmed. Lisa stepped forward. You don't belong here, she said. Leave. Or you stay forever. The lead mercenary spat. You're coming with us. There's a bounty on you, alive. Lisa shook her head. I am not property. Zara lifted the man with one hand, holding him level with Lisa's eyes. You will tell your kind, Zara said, her voice deep and resonant, that this world is not for taking, that the small one is not for sale, and that we protect our own. She set him down gently beside his ship's escape pod. The vines released them. The mercenaries scrambled inside, faces pale. The pod launched, leaving behind only smoke and silence. Afterward, the giants did not celebrate. They gathered in the heart chamber and sang a song of boundaries, of strength without cruelty, of defense without hate. Lisa knew then that her role had changed. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a shield, a voice, a promise. As the next cycle began, she started teaching the younger giants about off-world threats, not to fear them, but to understand them. She showed them how to mask energy signatures, how to mimic natural frequencies, how to hide in plain sight. In return, they taught her deeper truths, how to heal with sound, how to grow food from starlight, How to Dream in Shared Visions. One night, as she sat with Zara under the crimson sun, Lisa asked, "What if more come? What if they bring warships?" Zara looked at her, eyes glowing softly. "Then we will stand together. You are not small to us, Lisa. You are the heart of our courage." Lisa leaned against her friend's arm, feeling the steady pulse of life beneath the smooth blue skin. She thought of Earth, of all she had left behind. But here she had built something real, something lasting. She was no longer trapped. She was home. And if the stars ever sent danger again, they would find not a helpless human, but a world united, giants and the small one who taught them to guard their peace. The twin suns set. The trees hummed, and Lisa Carter, daughter of two worlds, closed her eyes and smiled. Trapped on a world of giant alien women, the human had only one way to survive. The sky had been quiet for many cycles, but Lisa knew silence could be a mask. She spent her days walking the high paths of the city, listening to the whispers in the roots, watching the clouds for signs. The giants had grown stronger in their unity, their once gentle ways now edged with quiet readiness. They did not seek war, but they would not bow. And Lisa stood with them, not as a symbol, but as a sister, a teacher, a guardian of the fragile peace they had built together. Then the ground trembled, not from above this time, but from deep below. The great tree groaned, its silver bark cracked in thin lines that wept glowing sap. Nira rushed to the heart chamber, her face pale. "The core is sick," she said. "Something stirs in the deep places." Zara and Vela gathered the elders. Lisa followed, her mind racing. This was not an attack from the stars. This was something older, something born of the planet itself. For days the tremors grew worse. Vines wilted. The sky orchids turned black and fell like rain. The twin suns seemed dimmer, as if mourning. The giants moved slower, their voices hushed. Even their skin lost some of its glow. Lisa asked what lived below. Zara explained in soft tones. Long ago, before their ancestors walked the high branches, the world had been ruled by the deep ones, beings of stone and shadow who slept beneath the roots. They were not evil. They were balance. When the world grew too loud, too bright, too full of life, they stirred to quiet it, to reset. "They think we have grown too proud," Vela said, her voice tight. "They feel our defenses, our new strength. They see it as defiance." Lisa understood. The deep ones were not attacking. They were correcting. But if they rose fully, the city would fall. The trees would shatter. The giants might survive, but their way of life, the songs, the healing, the harmony, would be buried. "There must be a way to speak to them," Lisa said. Nira shook her head. "No one has spoken to the deep ones in 1,000 cycles. They do not use words. They use silence." "Then we will learn silence," Lisa replied. She remembered something from her old life. On Earth, scientists once used low-frequency pulses to communicate with whales, creatures who spoke in vibrations, not sounds. Maybe the deep ones were the same. Maybe they listened not with ears, but with bones. She gathered Zara and Vela. "We need to go down," she said. "To the root caves, the deepest place." Vela frowned. "It is forbidden. The air is thin. The paths are unstable." "Then we go careful," Lisa said. "But we must try." After much debate, they agreed. Nira prepared a mix of glowing moss and breathroot to help them breathe in the depths. Zara wove a harness strong enough to hold them all. Vela sharpened her bone dagger, not for fighting, but for carving safe holes in the stone. At dawn, they descended. The entrance was hidden behind a waterfall of liquid light. They stepped through and into darkness. The air grew colder, heavier. The walls pulsed with faint veins of blue energy. The deeper they went, the more the ground vibrated, not with tremors, but with a slow, steady heartbeat. After hours of climbing down narrow shafts and crossing root bridges over bottomless chasms, they reached the Chamber of Echoes. It was vast, a cavern so large the ceiling vanished in shadow. In the center stood a stone monolith covered in ancient carvings, spirals, eyes, hands reaching upward, and the heartbeat was louder here. Lisa approached the monolith. She placed her palm on the cold stone. Instantly, images flooded her mind, not pictures, but feelings, loneliness, patience, duty. The deep ones were not angry. They were tired. They had slept for ages, and now the world above felt sharp, loud, changed. They wanted it soft again, quiet again. She turned to the others. "They don't want to destroy us. They want us to remember stillness. Zara nodded slowly. We have forgotten the old ways. We built shields. We learned war. We forgot to listen, Lisa thought hard. Then she had an idea. We cannot unlearn what we know, she said. But we can show them that strength and peace can live together. She asked Nira for the breathroot mix. Then she asked Vela to carve a small basin in the stone. Zara gathered fallen crystals from the floor. Lisa mixed the glowing moss with water from a seep in the wall and poured it into the basin. Then she placed the crystals around it in a circle. This is how we speak, she said. She began to hum. Not a song of joy or warning, but a low, steady tone. The same frequency she used to calm her nerves during ship emergencies. Zara joined her voice deep and resonant. Vela added a rhythmic tap on the stone like a heartbeat. Nira poured more moss into the basin, making the light pulse in time with their rhythm. The chamber responded. The vibrations grew stronger. The monolith glowed. The ground stilled. From the shadows, shapes emerged, not monsters, but figures made of living rock, tall and slow, with eyes like polished obsidian. They did not speak. They simply watched. Lisa kept humming. She stepped forward, hands open, palms up. She showed them her smallness, her fragility, and her choice. I came from the stars, she said. Though she knew they did not understand words, I could have left. But I stayed. Because this world is worth protecting, not by hiding, not by fighting, but by caring, she pointed to Zara. She saved me when I fell. She pointed to Vela. She taught me to stand. She pointed to Nira. She taught me to heal. Then she placed her hand over her heart. I am small, but my love for this place is large. The lead deep one stepped closer. It raised a stony hand and touched the air above Lisa's head. A warmth spread through her, not of heat, but of knowing. The deep ones saw her. They felt her truth. The trembling stopped. The monolith's light softened to a gentle blue. The deep ones turned and melted back into the stone walls, their duty done. The chamber grew quiet, but not empty. It felt peaceful. They climbed back to the surface as the twin suns rose. The city was still standing. The trees were already greening again. The sky orchids bloomed anew, white and pure. The giants gathered when they returned. They saw the calm in Zara's eyes, the respect in Vela's stance, the wonder in Nira's smile. They knew, from that day on, the city changed, not in structure but in spirit. They kept their defenses, but they also returned to the old songs. They held silence hours each day, just listening. They taught their young to honor both strength and stillness. Lisa became the keeper of balance. She walked between the high branches and the deep roots, between human logic and giant wisdom. She was no longer just Lisa Carter, lost pilot. She was Lisa of the twin suns, voice of the deep in the sky. Years passed. More ships came, some curious, some greedy. All were met with the same truth: this world was not for taking. Some left in peace. Others learned the hard way. But none ever broke the unity of the giants and their small guardian. One evening, as she sat with Zara on their favorite platform, Lisa looked up at the stars. Earth was still there, a faint blue dot in the distance. She missed it sometimes, but not enough to leave. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you never crashed here? Zara asked softly. Lisa smiled. I would have kept flying, searching, but I would have never known what it means to belong. Zara placed a gentle hand over Lisa's. You belong here, always. And as the crimson sun dipped below, the horizon and the gold one cast its last light, Lisa knew she had found the only way to truly survive, not by escaping danger, but by building something worth protecting. The wind carried their silence into the stars, and somewhere far away the universe listened. Trapped on a world of giant alien women, the human had only one way to survive. Peace had settled over the city like morning mist, but Lisa felt a new kind of quiet, one that hummed with waiting. The deep ones slept again. The sky remained clear. No ships dared approach, yet something stirred in her bones, a pull she could not name. It was not fear. It was memory. One night she dreamed of Earth, not the cities or the noise, but her grandmother's garden. Rows of sunflowers turning their faces to the light, the smell of wet soil after rain, the sound of wind through tall grass. She woke with tears on her cheeks. Zara found her sitting on the edge of the platform staring at the stars. You miss it, Zara said, not as a question. Lisa nodded. Not the war. Not the rush, just the small things. The ordinary beauty. Zara sat beside her, careful not to shake the platform. You carry it inside you. That is why you see beauty here too. Lisa smiled faintly, but the dream stayed with her. It grew into an idea. What if she could bring a piece of Earth here? Not machines or weapons, just life. Seeds, flowers, trees that remembered home, she asked Nira. The healer's eyes lit up. Life speaks to life, she said. If your seeds are true, the soil will welcome them. So Lisa began to search her old pod. Deep in a sealed compartment, she found it, a survival kit with emergency rations, medical supplies, and a small pouch labeled Terran Botanical Samples. Inside were seeds: sunflower, wheat, clover, lavender, and one tiny vial marked earth soil. Her hands shook as she held it. With Zara's help, she cleared a small patch near the heart chamber, away from the glowing native plants. She mixed the earth soil with the local moss and poured water from the sky pools. Then, one by one, she planted the seeds. She sang to them in English, the same songs her grandmother used to hum while gardening. The giants watched in silence. They did not understand the ritual, but they respected it. Days passed. Nothing grew. Lisa's hope wavered. Maybe the seeds were too old. Maybe this world rejected them. Maybe she was foolish to think she could bridge two planets with something so small. Then on the 7th morning, a green shoot pushed through the soil. It was thin and pale, but alive. Lisa cried. Zara knelt and touched the leaf with one finger, her amber eyes wide with wonder. Nira brought a special mist to help it grow. Vela stood guard nearby as if protecting a sacred flame. More shoots followed. Clover spread like a green blanket. Wheat stalks rose tall and golden. Lavender bloomed with purple flowers that smelled like summer evenings. And in the center, a sunflower stretched toward the twin suns, its face turning slowly to follow their light. The giants called it the small garden of two worlds. They brought their young to see it. They learned the names of each plant in Lisa's tongue. They wove lavender into their hair and ground wheat into bread that tasted of distant fields. But the sunflower became something more. On the day it bloomed fully, its golden petals wide and bright, the entire city gathered. Lisa stood before it, small and proud. Zara placed a hand on her shoulder. You did not just plant seeds, Zara said. You planted hope. Lisa looked at the faces around her, blue skin glowing in the dual light, eyes full of awe, and knew she had given them a gift. And they had given her one too. A place where Earth could live again, not as a memory, but as a promise. Then the signal came. Not from the sky, from the ground. The root network pulsed with urgency. A message from the Western Grove, strangers. Not ships, not machines, living beings. Walking Lisa and the others went at once. They found them at the edge of the silver forest. 3 figures, small like Lisa, wrapped in tattered survival suits. 2 men and 1 woman, all human, all exhausted. Their pod had crash-landed weeks ago. They had been wandering, starving, lost. When they saw Lisa, they wept. You're real, the woman whispered. We thought we were hallucinating. Lisa helped them up. She gave them water and fruit. She spoke gently, calmly, but inside, fear coiled tight. These were her people. But were they safe? She brought them to the city. The giants watched from a distance, wary but silent. Vela stood at the entrance, arms crossed. Zara stayed close to Lisa. In the guest chamber, the humans ate and rested. Their names were Dana, Leo, and Mia. They were scientists from a research vessel that had strayed too close to the gravity well. They meant no harm. They only wanted to go home. Lisa believed them, but she also remembered the mercenaries, the bounty hunters, the lies wrapped in friendly voices, so she watched. For days she stayed near them, listening, observing. They asked about the giants. They marveled at the city. They thanked Lisa endlessly. They showed no greed, no hidden scanners, no weapons. Mia, the youngest, spent hours in the small garden. She touched the sunflower with tears in her eyes. I haven't seen yellow like this since I left Mars Colony, she said. That night, Lisa spoke to Zara and Vela. They are not like the others. They are lost, like I was. Vela studied her. And if they tell others where we are, then we will be ready, Lisa said. But we cannot punish the innocent for the sins of the guilty. Zara nodded. Show them kindness, but also truth. So Lisa took them to the central spire. She showed them the transmitter. She played the message she had sent to the Federation. This is our law, she said. You may stay until you are strong, but you will not speak of this place. You will not map it. You will not return. Dana looked at her, eyes serious. We swear it. On our lives, they stayed for 2 cycles. Lisa taught them the ways of the city, how to drink from pearl cups, how to walk the high bridges, how to listen to the wind. Mia helped tend the garden. Leo studied the root network with quiet awe. Dana learned a few words of the chiming tongue. The giants watched. Slowly, their suspicion faded. Nira brought them healing tea. Vela even nodded at them once. When it was time to leave, Zara and Vela helped repair their escape pod using salvaged parts and woven silk for insulation. Lisa gave them seeds, sunflower, lavender, wheat to take home. So you remember, she said. As the pod lifted into the sky, Lisa stood with her friends on the highest platform. The humans waved until they vanished among the stars. Silence returned. But something had changed. Lisa realized she was no longer just protecting this world from outsiders. She was becoming a bridge, not for invasion, but for understanding. Weeks later, a small package arrived, not by ship, by root messenger. A sealed pod carried through the underground network from a distant grove. Inside was a data chip and a note in Mia's handwriting. We kept our word, but we thought you should know. The Federation has declared your system protected. No ships allowed. They call it the Carter Exclusion Zone. Lisa showed it to Zara. They honored your choice. Zara said softly. Maybe, Lisa replied. Or maybe they're just afraid of what they don't understand. Either way, Vela said, stepping beside them. You gave us time, and time is life. Lisa looked out over the glowing city, the silver trees, the small garden blooming under twin suns. She thought of Earth, of the humans who left in peace, of the giants who trusted her. She had come here broken, alone, afraid. Now she was whole. Not because she escaped danger, but because she chose to stay, to build, to love. And in that choice, she found the only survival that truly mattered, not just living, but belonging. The wind carried the scent of lavender through the branches. Somewhere deep below, the planet slept in peace. And Lisa Carter, the small one among giants, knew she would never be lost again.